With The Sims 4, you'll find yourself in one of three positions. You hate it, you love it, or you're indifferent. And you'll find that your opinion has mostly changed since the release of the game on September 2nd of 2014. At the original release of the game, most Simmers found themselves disappointed and even angry with EA. Although The Sims 4 included great new features such as a detailed Create-A-Sim in terms of facial and body customization, an easy-to-use building system, emotions, and the ability to multitask, it was lacking in many ways. Many ways. There were no pools, toddlers, cars, family trees, and gameplay was nearly non-existent. Thankfully, pools were added to The Sims 4 2 months later in patch 7, but toddlers were not released until January 12th of 2017, which was 2 years and 4 months after the original release of the game. While it was extremely disappointing to be missing this crucial life stage in the game for the first 2 years, we have to appreciate the time and effort that was put into toddlers. The Sims 4 arguably has the best toddlers due to them having 5 skills that they can improve upon, those being communication, imagination, movement, thinking, and potty. When toddlers move up to the next skill, they unlock new interactions that enhance their gameplay with adults primarily. In addition to life stages, it is a universal opinion that The Sims 4 has the worst babies, by far. This is because they are merely objects that cannot be removed from their bassinets. In previous games such as The Sims 2 and 3, babies can be removed from their cribs, taken on walks in strollers, taken to community lots, etc. In The Sims 2, when clicking to bottle feed your baby, the Sims would take the baby to the kitchen, remove bottle from the fridge, feed them. In The Sims 4, they stand over the bassinet and they go whoop and pull a bottle right from thin air. In terms of animations, The Sims 4 is still lacking in terms of details. In The Sims 2, while cooking, you could see the Sim walk to the fridge, pull out the corresponding ingredients, and make the meal. So for example, a grilled cheese, you would see them walk to the fridge, pull out bread, cheese, and butter, and you'd find that they actually looked like they were preparing a grilled cheese. You'd see them pull the bread from the loaf and watch them butter it and put the cheese on. And you have to admit, The Sims 2 was great in terms of detail. So then after they do that, they would pull a pan out from the cabinet and cook it on the stove, and as you can imagine, there were multiple interactions for cooking details, and all of them looked like the dish that they were preparing. The Sims 4 lacks in this department, as did The Sims 3. When Sims are cooking, you can never really tell what they're cooking until the dish is prepared. There's a lack of attention to detail, specifically in The Sims 4, but in The Sims 3 as well, in terms of cooking. In comparison to The Sims 3, The Sims 4 lacks creative style. The Sims 3 had an amazing feature named Creative Style, where you could change the pattern and material of objects or clothes, in addition to be able to change the color to whatever you wanted via a color wheel. Even The Sims 2 has more customization than The Sims 4. Because if you were choosing a bed, for example, you would be able to choose the bed that you want, and then EA would have preset colors of the bed frame, and you'd be able to choose one of those, and underneath it, it would have preset bed sets that you would also be able to choose, and the bed sets varied in color and pattern. Sims 4 does not have anything like that. All that The Sims 4 has is preset swatches and colors that are made by EA. This makes it extremely difficult to be able to make a cohesive outfit or even a cohesive looking house because the styles of the furniture and the colors do not add up. Adding into the customization issues of The Sims 4, it was only until a recent patch that EA added sliders to skin tones to make the game more inclusive and customizable for players. Prior to this, they only had about 18 skin tones, 2 of those being blue and green. There were only about 6 darker skin tones, none of which looked realistic and caused trouble for the Hispanic and Black communities. There was also a lack of culturally diverse hairstyles, which caused uproar due to those communities feeling underrepresented and not being able to accurately create their Sim self. The hair colors are also lacking in terms of customization in comparison to The Sims 3. In The Sims 3, the hair colors were extremely customizable along with everything else. You were able to set the colors for the roots, base, highlights, and ends of the hair, and you could choose from 42 preset colors or customize it via the color wheel. The Sims 3 was a fantastic game for customization in every aspect, so you could customize your Sims' clothing, hair, houses, and objects as much as you'd like due to the color wheel and creative style, allowing you to create the most diverse Sims and the most diverse houses. In terms of creating diverse Sims, The Sims 4 lacks in this department as well. Big surprise. The Sims 2 included zodiac signs where you had 25 points that you could apply to any of these 5 categories: sloppy or neat, shy or outgoing, lazy or active, serious or playful, or grouchy and nice. So basically how this worked is that you'd get 25 points on the side, and then say you wanted your Sim to be more neat than sloppy. So you'd apply however many of the points you would like, and then it would affect the gameplay because they wouldn't be leaving trash everywhere, they would be cleaning up after themselves, and then the same thing goes down for all the categories. It just kind of depends on what the categories are, and it affects your gameplay. So after applying these points, it assigns your Sim a zodiac sign based on the points in each personality categories. These points heavily influenced how your Sim acted and allowed you to create diverse Sims and make your household as chaotic as you'd like. The Sims 3 also had zodiac signs, but they didn't really have any influence on Sims' behavior. Instead, they had a trait system that influenced the Sims' personalities. So for an adult Sim, you could choose up to 5 personality traits from the 63 options in the base game. It was crazy. And in The Sims 4, for an adult Sim, you could only choose 3 traits from the 39 options in the base game, which this causes a lack of personality in The Sims 4 and is a major step down from the prior Sims games. Another thing The Sims 4 lacks compared to The Sims 3 is an open world. This topic is a bit controversial in the simming community due to the open world being extremely laggy and buggy, but it was fantastic due to not having loading screens and being able to travel wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. You could walk to your next door neighbor's house and enter it without a loading screen, and that was fantastic due to not having to sit there and wait if you wanted to go see what the goths were up to that day. The Sims 4 is a completely closed world just like The Sims 2, and sure, you could go for a jog around the neighborhood without the loading screen if you wanted, but if you wanted to visit a neighbor quickly without having to look at a loading screen, forget it. A lot of Simmers in the community have tried to introduce the idea of open neighborhoods to EA. If you don't know what an open neighborhood is, picture Willow Creek. At the top, middle, you have the mansions. In the bottom left, you have the library, gym, nightclub, etc. And in the bottom right, you have the smaller, more affordable houses. If we had open neighborhoods, you'd be able to openly travel to the mansions in the neighborhood without loading screens. So say you lived in the Goth mansion, so you'd be able to travel to any of your neighbors within that neighborhood without visiting a loading screen. But if you wanted to go to the library in that same neighborhood or in that same world, then you would have a loading screen, but once the screen has loaded at the library, you'd be able to visit the gym and the nightclub and whatever other lots are in that specific neighborhood without having to go through a loading screen again. Tying into open worlds, one of the most important aspects of the Sims franchise was and still is kind of missing from The Sims 4, that being story progression. Since The Sims 3 was an open world, everybody did their own thing and moved on with their lives. They would have babies, get married, get new jobs, move in other houses, and the list goes on. Until recently, if you wanted story progression in The Sims 4, you either had to play with the families in the town or download mods. The Sims 4 recently added an update that sort of allows story progression. If you know a Sim, they would call you asking if they should hang out with another Sim, try for another baby, or accept a new job offer. Although it's a step in the right direction, it still sucks. It still feels like I'm micromanaging my Sims, and I don't want to have to tell Eliza Pancakes that she should try for a baby with Bob. Like, I just want to see it happen. I feel like that just deletes the whole purpose of story progression, because I'm still controlling what the other Sims do. The Sims 4 also sucks in terms of lore, and by sucks, I mean it's basically non-existent. The lore in The Sims 2, amazing. It was top tier. You download the game, and boom, chaos is ensuing everywhere. Bella Goth is missing. Don Lothario's cheating on Cassandra Goth with the Caliente sisters and his maid. You join the Caliente household, the same night they get robbed by a burglar, And the broke family's father dies mysteriously, leaving behind his pregnant wife and his 2 sons, leaving them in financial distress. The list goes on with the amount of drama that was incorporated to this game prior to its release. The Sims 4 is all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to gameplay, making it rather boring, especially when being compared to The Sims 2. It's been 8 years since the game was released, and we still don't have burglars. There are many features that we still don't have, but burglars are something that Simmers have been begging for since the original release of the game to make it somewhat interesting. The Sims 2 also had a memory system which remembers both good and bad events in their life, kind of altering how they live, as well as relationships being complex. So for example, Cassandra could love Dawn and find him extremely attractive, but Dawn could absolutely hate Cassandra and not find her attractive whatsoever. In The Sims 4, the relationships are all universal. If Cassandra loves Dawn, then he automatically feels the same way about her. I could go on and on about what The Sims 4 is lacking compared to the other games in the franchise, but I'm just going to leave it at this because I could go on about this topic for hours. I could also go on for hours as to why, in my opinion, The Sims 2 is the best game in the franchise, but I'm not going to get into that today. So if you take anything from this video, play The Sims 2. Sure, it's lacking in story progression, but the amount of chaos that you could cause between your Sims makes up for it in my opinion. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.